What do you make of the criticism that's made recently of your office?
Well, they should come and spend a few days with us. If you would like to.
Sure.
Please come.
Welcome to.
Please.
Okay, so we'll get into the controversy about Governor General Julie Payette in just a few moments, but did she just invite us to her house?
Yeah, I mean, she represents the Queen, so are we going to Buckingham Palace? Hello and welcome to Backbenchers, your bi-weekly snapshot of Canadian politics. I'm Ryan Maloney.
And I'm Mohammed Omar. And recently we've seen a lot of stories about Canada's past and present Governor Generals.
It's actually governors, governors.
Sure. It all started in the fall, when stories started to swirl about current Governor General Julie Payette and how she was performing in the role.
Quick social sciences class reminder, Canada's Governor General, also known as the Queen's baby monitor, is the representative of our official head of state, Queen Elizabeth II. We need the role, of course, because Canada is a constitutional monarchy.
Yes, on behalf of the Queen, the GG swears in the Prime Minister and the Cabinet, they pause, kick off, and shut down Parliament, and most importantly, they give royal assent, which turns legislation into law. So you can thank Julie Payette for your weed.
So she was criticized for not always following convention, perhaps attending fewer events, raising questions about whether she was a good fit for the role. To prove that she actually got a lot done, she fired back with this EDM-inspired social banger.
And before we knew it, Payette's predecessors started to steal the headlines, and not for the greatest of reasons. First, it was Adrienne Clarkson.
The National Post revealed that Clarkson routinely bills us, the taxpayers, more than $100,000 a year in office expenses and more than $1 million since leaving the job in 2005.
She defended the spending by saying she never really stepped out of the game. Clarkson said she attended 182 events last year and countless others since hanging up her GG jersey, including this random-ass sing-along.
The story shone a light on a little-known program that lets former governors general claim some expenses for the rest of their lives under the notion that they never truly retire. Mo, can you imagine never retiring?
Yes, Ryan, because I'm a millennial with crushing student debt. The Prime Minister says they deserve the financial support, but says he's going to review the program to ensure there's transparency.
And Clarkson's story brought another former governor general out of the woodwork, Canada's sweet grandpapa, David Johnston. So after the expense controversy bubbled up, Johnson figured he'd do the right thing, and he released a report that shows he has also spent tens of thousands in taxpayer dollars since leaving the role.
Some of that went to travel, some of it went to office supplies, but most of it went to an executive assistant, or as he called it, office support.
This office needs a strong man.
So you might be wondering, why is this role such a mystery? We threw this question to Lawrence Sawson. He's a professor at Osgoode Law School in Toronto.
It's an absolutely critical question and one about which we know virtually nothing. So it's appointed by the Queen on the advice of the Prime Minister. There isn't a selection criteria, there's no qualification, there's no degree you have to take to be eligible, that kind of thing. It's been in practice for decades without much public scrutiny whatsoever.
When it comes to understanding this mysterious role, we knew Lorne would have expert insights. After all, he did write a book about the Governor General and the 2008 parliamentary crisis. So, what are some ways we can modernize the role and the office of the Governor General?
Well, it almost seems like an oxymoron to modernize the monarchy. There is meant to be this independent credibility to the office and to the holder of that office. More transparency, more explanation, building more of a communication with Canadian people and communities. I think that is the direction to modernize.
So it looks like there are plenty of mysteries to solve. Why is the GG selection process so secretive? Why doesn't Lorne bring back his sweet beard? Why do we keep bankrolling former governors general? But hey, with no job description needed, anyone can become Governor General. Maybe even Lorne. Maybe even me. Maybe just Lorne. It seems like every time there's a scandal with the Governor General, Canadians start to learn more about the job. So what I'm saying is, we need more scandals.
And there's nothing like a good constitutional crisis to remind you how crucial the role can be. The main job of any Governor General is to ensure that Parliament functions, that the Prime Minister always has the confidence of the House of Commons. But things get dicier when the party in power only has a minority. Remember the King Byng affair that went viral in 1926? Liberal Prime Minister Mackenzie King had a minority government, even though the Conservatives had the most seats. Facing a corruption scandal, he went to the Governor General, Lord Byng, and said, "Yo, do me a solid. Let's dissolve Parliament. We'll have an election. It'll be awesome. Bada boom, bada bing." Lord Byng said, "Sorry, Mac, I can't do it." Instead, he invited Tory leader Arthur Meehan to form government, which he did for about a week before everything fell apart and an election was called. Mackenzie King then won a majority government, in large part by dumping all over the Governor General for not taking his advice. We see this again in 2008 when the Conservatives had a minority under Stephen Harper. Tories moved to strip parties of a key subsidy. Liberals and the NDP formed a coalition supported by the Bloc Québécois to replace them. Sensing he was about to lose power, Harper went to Governor General Michaël Jean and said, "Yo, Michaël, things are getting pretty spicy down there. What do you say we temporarily shut down Parliament?" And she said, "Yeah, okay, that sounds good." Parliament was suspended, the coalition fell apart, and Harper ended up winning a majority in 2011. The moral of the story? While much of what a Governor General does is pomp and ceremony, if the situation calls for it, they have the power to shape Canadian history.
Now, Julie Payette doesn't have to worry about any of this because the Liberals have a majority government.
Right, but with an election less than a year away, we don't know how things are going to shape up. She could be called upon to make some pretty monumental decisions.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how things play out. Well, that's our show. Thank you very much for watching. We'll leave you now with my favorite moment from the last 2 weeks.
I did wear a Conservative t-shirt, but the Prime Minister can appreciate that at least I kept my shirt on.